Assalamu alaikum my lovelies. Hello and welcome to my channel Crafty 2017. Last year I made a card which got published in the Paper Crafty magazine, and I thought today that I would share a different version of how I made that card. So here you see the pictures of what I've made today, and then following that you'll see pictures of what I made last year and the difference of the two cards and the vibrancy of this card. And you'll also see the image of where my card got published in the magazine. Now diving straight into the actual making of the card, what I've got over here is 3 colors of the Distress Oxide inks, and I've got some white card. And what I'm going to do now, and here I've got a water bottle, spray bottle. I'm just smushing my first color onto my surface, and I'm spritzing the water over the color to be able to lift it up onto my cardstock here, like so. And what you'll see over here is that the colors are not going to be on my cardstock in an even manner, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. Actually, I'm looking for lots of texture and lots of unevenness. And what I'm doing here is I'm just picking up the leftover colors, because I don't like to waste any of my colors left over. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my heat tool and dry it all up, so that on the next move what I'm going to do is add another color. And the reason why I'm drying it up is so that my next color doesn't mix into the first color that I've done, because I want to be able to see the layers of the different colors on my card. Now the same thing that I'm doing over here, again smushing the ink pad onto my surface, spritzing some water and lifting it up again onto the card, and you can see the different textures and layers that I'm actually building up on the card. And these two colors are just two of my favorites in the color palette, and again I'm picking up the leftover on the card, which I'll use for something else. So here you'll see the card that I have added all the colors with, the layers and the beautiful color mixtures that have happened on the process, and I'm drying it with my heat tool to make sure that everything stays in its place. Moving on to the next color, this is another favorite color of mine, and it goes beautifully with these two other colors that I've chosen. I'm spritzing it with water, picking it up on my white cardstock, and just building up the layers of the color and the texture onto my card, drying it with my heat tool. And then I think I'm going to be picking up more of the color that is left over. So each time you dry, that's the thing with oxide inks, when you dry a layer, it stays intact, and you pick up another layer, the layers are just constantly there each time. So that's one of the nice advantages of Distress Oxide inks. Now here I have my heat tool, and I'm going to place my card onto the heat tool, because I want to be able to stamp my images onto the card. I'm just picking out the parts that I would like to be on my floral images, and then I'm going to actually switch my card around, because I want to be able to work in a flexible manner and make sure that my image is, placed nicely, firmly onto my cardstock. And if you are actually in any kind of discomfort while you're working, your work actually picks up onto it, and you can get dissatisfied and you want to start all over again. So it's always a good tip to be able to relax in the work environment that you are in altogether. Now over here what I've done is I've stamped it once, and I'm going to stamp it a couple of more times. And the reason for that is the more often you actually stamp your images, the more vivid and darker the lines that you will have of your image. So over here you'll see, I think this is the second time that I'm doing it. I'm probably going to do it another one more time, because I want to be able to make sure that my images are visible, and yep, I'm quite satisfied with that. And moving on, I'm doing the yellow, and I've chosen the yellow for my leaves. And I always had the imagination, not just the imagination, growing up, seeing the colors of the flowers. They're always pink, blue and red, yellow, and naturally I used to think that the leaves are always green, so I thought this time let me just do something slightly different. Make yellow leaves. Yellow leaves do exist, but when I was growing up it was just a stereotypical idea that, you know, everything just had its norm. So over here, and this is mixed media at the end of the day, so you're allowed to be able to shift your colors about, move it about in whatever fashion that you want to. There's no restrictions as to, oh, you can't do it this way and that way. This is artwork at the end of the day. You're allowed to be flexible in whatever shape and form that you want in the form of art, and that's the nice flexibility about it. There's no uniform to it. When there is, obviously you need to be able to follow that to be able to, you know, get it on the right track. But over here I'm just playing about with it in a natural manner, and as you can see I've stamped my images several times on my cardstock, a number of times. Now over here, the different part of the card is I've got a 4¼ by 6 inches card base, and this time it's not a white card base, it's a floral patterned paper. Normally I usually use a plain cardstock to make my cards, but today I thought I'd try something different and play about with a floral pattern paper. You can do this with any kind of pattern paper of your choice, but with me I like flowers, so this is what I've chosen, and I've tried to match it with in accordance to the image that I have actually got ready for it. So on top of that I've got a white cardstock which I've lined up with 2 rows of washi tape, which I'm just folding under to give it a neat finish. And I'm going to get my paint out. This is my Gansai Tambi watercolors. You can see how much I've used it, and I'm just adding some black splashes. And I say this all the time, the smaller the brush, the smaller the splashes. The larger the brush, the larger the brushes. It depends on what you want. With this one I wanted small splashes, so I went by with the smallest brush that I had. Now over here you see I've already fussy cut most of my images out, and I've just kept this last one here to be able to show you. This is quick process, by the way, quick video, which is why you'll see it's done fast, but in real life it's actually a bit tedious and slow. I've learned to like it over a period of time, so it's quite therapeutic. So it doesn't take that long, and once you've finished doing all your fussy cutting you actually think it's quite an achievement, because it just helps you to boost your work. Now what I'm doing over here is I've got my double-sided sticky tape, and I'm going to place it all the way around the edge because I want to lay that down onto my floral pattern paper cardstock. And what you'll see me do here is I like to be able to lift the backs of the double-sided sticky tape on 2 opposite corners. Now what this does is it helps me to be able to lay my card down but not glue it down until I'm satisfied with the position that the card is in. I have made mistakes in the past. I have in the past taken all the strips off and want to lay it down, went horribly wrong, wanted to take it off, and you destroy your work, in other words. So just to avoid that, that's the method that I follow. Now over here you'll see a little accident that happened, is that one of the strips, when I wasn't really paying attention, it went back underneath. So I didn't edit this bit out. I wanted you to see that what happens when something like this goes wrong. Fortunately this one was quite straightforward. I used my poker tool and managed to get the strip out, but there have been occasions where I haven't been able to do that, and it can destroy your work. Moving on, I'm placing my images onto the top of my card, and I'm playing about with it to see how I would want to lay it down, and just playing about to see how I'm going to be satisfied with this, and just getting a rough idea of it. And so now I've got my rough idea. I'm getting my foam tape and I'm placing it onto my floral images because I want them to pop out. And and I'm going to place them on my card, and I do still play about with them to make sure that I'm absolutely happy with it before I completely stick it down. So that's what I'm doing here. And then next I'm going to be assembling my leaves. Now some of the leaves you'll see that I'm gluing them down with some glue like that, or I'm going to use foam pads to, you know, put them down onto the surface. The best part of the foam pads is I have got small ones, but they're too small. So with these foam pads you can just cut them down to size and place them as necessary. So that's what I'm doing over here. And use as necessary, because I like to be able to create, and you know, whatever work that I have, to a standard that it's got good quality behind it. When I say good quality, something that's not going to shift easily, something that's, you know, made with a good firmness, that it's not going to fall off on the process of me delivering it to someone. So that's what I like in the work that I do. I like to make sure that everything is made as strongly as possible. And I'm using my acrylic block over here to just keep the leaves in place so that they don't move, and so that it sticks down properly. Still playing about with my leaves. There have been times where I wasn't satisfied with how the leaf or my embellishment went, so I would, you know, pluck it off and play about with it again until I was satisfied. It's really a game of satisfaction on this level, because you have to be able to like your work by the end of it. Almost done, just got one more leaf to go, and again I'm being picky. I don't want it to be in the wrong place, so I'm happy with the last placement, so that's where I'm laying it down. And finally, with my sentiment, I did one just a note, and I die cut it, but I wasn't happy with it, so I did another one. Was much more satisfied with that one, so I'm just going to add some foam tape and put it in place. Now that looks much better, and I was a lot more satisfied with that even as I was making it. So here's the final piece, and I'm going to add some cosmic shimmer, and this is part of something that I won on the giveaway from the Paper Crafty magazine on Instagram, and it was my first ever giveaway that I had won, and I was over the moon, and there was so many good things that I made from all the goodies that I had won that time. So I'm just adding those as a little final embellishment. I didn't want my card to go absolutely boom, you know, with all the sparklers or anything. I just wanted it to be nice and subtle and delicate as much as possible. So that's the kind of look that I went for today. And yeah, I'm just finishing it off with those last little elements. And here is my final piece. I hope you liked what I created, and thank you very much for joining me. I hope you got some inspiration, and I'm going to leave you with some pictures and images of the final piece. Please don't forget to like, share and give a thumbs up. Thank you very much again for joining me. I do appreciate the time that you spend with me, and I'm sharing lots of crafty love with everybody, and I hope to be able to see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.